What if I told you that Omnisphere 3 has a hidden layer control system that lets you create evolving soundscapes that morph in real time, build sophisticated round-robin sequences, and design velocity-sensitive patches that professional sound designers charge absolutely hundreds for? That's Quadzone, and most Omnisphere users have probably never turned it on. Let me show you why this might be the most powerful feature in Omnisphere 3. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into Quadzone, Omnisphere 3's multi-layer manipulation system that honestly feels like having 4 synthesizers that can seamlessly morph into each other. Whether you're creating ambient textures, designing cinematic soundscapes, or building complex electronica patches, Quadzone is about to become your new secret weapon. And stick around because I'm going to show you 3 practical patch examples you can use immediately in your productions. Let's get started. First things first, what exactly is Quadzone? At its core, Quadzone is a sophisticated layer control system that lets you manipulate up to 4 layers in a patch using 3 different modes. Think of it as a sophisticated crossfader, keyboard mapper, and velocity switcher all rolled into one modulation-friendly interface. So here's what you're looking at. This grid has 4 horizontal rows, A, B, C, and D, and each row represents one of your 4 layers here. Those 128 vertical lines that will come across here when I play, you see that move across. Those represent MIDI values, and what they mean changes depending on which mode you're in, as we just quickly saw there. And to access Quadzone, you simply turn it on as I did here, because if I just reset this back, if I click Quadzone, that turns it on, and I just hit this little magnifying glass here, we get into Quadzone. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Quadzone has 3 modes, and each one completely changes how your layers behave. We have fader mode, and this uses a modulatable fader to crossfade between layers, perfect for evolving textures. So as this slider moves, it will move your layer. So what we can do here, just quickly put this together here, and I'll just put layer A and B on, just so we've got 2 contrasting sounds. So we've got a saw. If I move this up, we get the modular saw coming in as well. So that's what the fader does. We've got notes mode. So if I go into notes mode, this represents your MIDI keyboard, and as I play down the bottom end, I get the saw. If I play the top end, I get the saw and the Moog saw playing at the same time. With velocity mode, I'll just bring this further down, because the harder you hit the keys now, play softly, I get the saw. Play a little bit firmer, I get both. So let me show you each one in detail. Let's start with fader mode, because this is where Quadzone truly does shine for ambient and electronic production. In fader mode, all your active layers play simultaneously, but the fader controls which ones you actually hear based on its position over the grid. Now, I've put this patch together earlier, and all I've done is put some string sounds on each layer, and in Quadzone we have the power strings layer A across the whole range of the 128 CC messages that you can get from the MIDI, which is what this represents. And you've got the atmosphere strings in the bottom, magma guitar, then ukulele and cello. So as this fader moves up and down, it will bring on each one of these. So just a quick example. So you can create nice evolving textures. Now what I've done is attached an LFO to this slider. So all you need to do is modulate with LFO, and then you can set your settings here, as you can see on the side. So you see these corner handles here. This is how you move your blocks around in Quadzone. You click and drag, basically. And that will alter the start and end positions. You can do it either side. And if you want a smooth transition, you just click on the top right-hand corners. And that will do a smooth transition there. Top left-hand corners if you want a fade in. And that's simply how you do it. And if you want an extra, if you want to add these layers, what I will do is if I just remove Uilleann Cello for now. And I just move that over there, so I'll do the whole thing. Because if I start a patch, it comes up with it all across. And all you need to do, like I say, is drag this across on the bottom left-hand corner. I want to start there. Fade in. I'll have a little fade out. And there we go. That's basically all we do to actually get your zone in. We'll come to how to add extra zones in a bit further on in the video. Now let's get a little bit more rhythmic. I've set up 4 layers tuned to different octaves by modulating the Quadzone fader with a 3-step sequencer. So each new note will trigger a completely different layer, and I've mapped this with the arpeggiator. So the arpeggiator is going to play a pattern, and if I just turn the arpeggiator off. Now with the arpeggiator we get this funky little sort of sound. So this creates an organic round-robin effect without using any external MIDI tools, perfect for these arpeggiated sequences that sort of never sound repetitive. So it's very easy to actually make something really, really sort of ambient and organic very, very quickly with Quadzone. Now, if you've got an MPE controller like the Rolly Seaboard or Expressive E Osmos, you can route, slide or press or any MPE parameter to the Quadzone fader. This gives you a real-time timbre control that responds to your physical performance. I can't demonstrate that because I don't have one of these controllers, but you can actually just basically right-click and modulate to this slider here. The key takeaway really is for fader mode, it's all about the modulation. Experiment with different LFO shapes, envelope curves, and even velocity or aftertouch to create patches that really feel alive and responsive. Okay then, next up is notes mode. This is your solution for sophisticated keyboard splits and multi-timbral patches. And in notes mode, those 128 lines represent MIDI note numbers, so you can position your zones anywhere across the keyboard. So let me show you a classic application, a split patch with bass on the left and a lead on the right. So I've got layers A and B and the top half playing the lead sounds and layer C playing a nice deep bass. To resize the zone, just grab the lower right and lower left as I showed you before, and that just lets you move the slider up and down, and you can then select the little corner, the top right there, or top left, to create a little fade in, so you can blend the patches across. So if I bring this one across a bit more, so we now, there's an overlap at round about middle C now, but further down, but here's where it gets really creative for ambient production. Instead of traditional splits, you can create multiple small zones across the keyboard. You can right click anywhere to add a new zone, and you can have up to 4 zones per row as we've got here. So let's get the right notes. So now each section of the keyboard triggers a different texture or sound effect. This is incredible for creating generative style patches where different notes reveal completely different sonic worlds. Little pro tip: combine this with your DAW's MIDI note randomization or use a chance-based MIDI effect to create really unpredictable evolving performances. To add a section, let's just remove this one. To add a section, all I need to do is literally right click and say add zone. And it'll add a zone there, and then I can move it like we showed before, just clicking and holding the sides and dragging them. Now, this, sort of like I say, every note now is playing a different combination of layers, and it just creates something nice and evolving that is unpredictable in one sense, but it has all sorts of wonderful emotion to your tracks. Finally, velocity mode. This is where playing dynamics control sort of the layer that's being triggered. The grid now represents velocity values from 1 to 128, and you'll see these turquoise bars showing your incoming MIDI velocity message. So for this string patch, I've set up different layers to trigger at different velocity ranges. So light playing triggers a soft, intimate string sound in layer A. Medium adds a bit of layer B with layer A. And then as I play a bit harder, we bring in layer C and layer D. So we get this wonderful expressive patch. So the result you get there is a string patch that responds to your playing intensity just like a real world sound would work, really. Now, here's a creative use for electronic producers. Load 4 completely different percussion sounds or effects into your layers, then map them to the velocity zones. Soft hits trigger one sound. Medium hits will add another, and harder hits completely different textures. So this is really powerful when you combine it with Omnisphere's arpeggiators we've done here, because the velocity of these will trigger, if I bring these down a bit, different sounds. So we get this now. Go back to velocity to the Quadzone, we can see the velocities lighting up. And if I did just another one there, so this is just done for effect here, just to show you what you can actually do with Quadzone. And it's sort of, like I say, with the arpeggiator mixed with the velocity, you've got a really powerful, unpredictable type rhythm sequence just sat there waiting for you to experiment. Before we wrap up, let me share some pro tips that will take your Quadzone patches really to the next level. The first tip: all your Quadzone settings save with your patch, but you can also save just the grid layout as a Quadzone preset. This means you can design a complex zone layout once and apply it to any patch. It's a huge time saver. Just click on this little triangle there and save Quadzone preset, and then you can save your Quadzone preset. Let's call it, let's say, Velocity Morpher. Save. Now I'm going to click on that little down arrow. There we go. So this is a quick way of building a little library of Quadzone presets. Tip 2 is you don't need to leave Quadzone to change sounds. If you right click on any row and select Pop-up Sound Source Browser, you don't lose your grid settings and you can choose anything else. Let's just go to Core Sounds. So I'm not getting everything. Let's just go something absolutely different. Staccato Heaven. So I've changed layer A to a completely different sample source without having to menu dive back to this and play around, so you can do it all within Quadzone. Tip number 3, always add fades to your zone edges unless you want hard cuts. So drag those upper corner handles inward to create smooth crossfades like we've done here. The further you drag, the more gradual the transition. The 4th tip is if you're only using 2 or 3 layers, double click the unused rows to disable them. So if you just double click them, that will disable layers C and D, and it keeps your CPU usage down on your and sort of the whole interface really a bit cleaner. And the last but by no means final tip number 5, don't forget Quadzone works at the patch level, but you can combine it with stack mode for even more complex layering possibilities. It's layers within layers within layers. So let's just have a little play. Let's put morphing tides on that one. We will then put that to channel 1. We will then put archipelago dreams on that one. And we will then put one more touch response synth. And then we can go into stack mode, switch them on, and I want archipelago dreams, that's my arpeggiator up there. I'll have my touch responsive synth sound sort of midway, and then we have this. So you get really thick, evolving sound just by sort of mounting up your quad layers there. So to wrap things up, let's recap the best use case for each mode. We've got fader mode. This is your go-to for evolving ambient pads that morph over time, round-robin style sequencing, MPE expression and performance control, and creating movement in static patches. We have notes mode. This excels at traditional keyboard splits for live performance, creating microzones for experimental sound design, building multi-timbral patches, sound effect triggering across the keyboard. And then we have velocity mode. This shines for dynamic expressive instruments, velocity layered realistic instruments, creative percussion and rhythmic design, patches that respond to playing intensity. And the real power comes from combining these with Omnisphere's modulation matrix, the effects section and other features. Quadzone isn't just a layer control, it's a creative canvas for sound design. I've created a free Omnisphere 3 Quadzone starter pack with the 10 patches you can see on the side here that demonstrate everything we've covered today. Evolving pads, split patches, velocity layered instruments and so much more. The download link is in the description below, and if you found this tutorial helpful, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into Omnisphere, synthesis techniques and sound design. Drop a comment letting me know which Quadzone mode you're most excited to use in your productions, and I'm going to cover more about Omnisphere and the granular synthesis engine in an upcoming video on how to create otherworldly textures from any sample. You really don't want to miss that, so do smash that subscribe button. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Stay creative, stay sonic. Now go make something amazing with Quadzone.